Creative testing with Facebook ads is one of the most important factors for long-term success. I tell people all the time that there are multiple micro conversions before you ever get to your ultimate conversion, whether that's a free opt-in or someone buying a product or service from you. The very first of all those micro conversions is to get people to stop the scroll. Remember, no one goes to Facebook and Instagram to look up new products and services. It's interruption marketing. So people are there trying to see what their friends are doing and saying, and all of a sudden your ad shows up. How well are you going to do to get that person to actually stop and read and consume your ad? The creative is one of the most important parts of getting people to actually stop the scroll. So it's very important that your creative game is on point. When it comes to testing creatives, there are several ways that you can go about it. I'm going to share with you 3 ways of doing that today, and I'm going to mention the pros and cons of each along the way. So let's get into it. All right, so the first is simply just having a bunch of ads inside of your ad set. So this isn't technically testing per se in a very sophisticated way, but you can still test this method. So I actually recently did this for a client, and when we take a look at his account right here, literally all we did, we tested 50 different creatives over the course of a little bit of time, probably 2 months, and we just kept on adding different creatives along the way. We would let them run, see what their cost per lead was, and then either turn it off based upon the results or leave it on if it was getting good results. You know, for him, anything under $2 is pretty good. So when anything was above that threshold, we would turn it off, and then we would leave on the ones that were doing well. Now, the benefits of this method is that it's very simple and straightforward. You're not using one of Facebook's built-in tools, which can be a little bit clunky sometimes. You're not doing some sort of sophisticated manual setup, which I actually will talk about as a third method in this video, but those manual setups can be a little bit cumbersome at times. This is simple. There's one ad set, you have your one audience in there, and then you just have creatives in there. The downside of this is that it's not going to distribute the impressions evenly, right? So it's always going to favor, maybe 1 or 2 different types of ads in there. So you have to manually shut off ads as time progresses in order to be able to give every single ad creative there a shot. Another thing I did forget to mention actually is that whenever you're doing ad testing, ad creative testing specifically, make sure that all your copy variations are exactly the same. Because if you're using different copy with different creatives in your testing, you're not going to know whether it's the copy or the creative that's actually doing the work for you. So each and every single one has the same exact copy, same exact headline. The only difference actually is the ad in this case. The other benefit of this method right here though is that it's very cost effective. So if you are on a low budget, this is probably the best method for you because you don't have to spend a whole lot of money. Now this client in particular actually does spend quite a bit. We were just doing it this way simply because his funnel was already successful, and we just wanted to see if we could throw something else in there to see if it would stick at all. We didn't really want to mess with what was already working. This was kind of sort of going on in the background, and so that's why this method ended up being best for this specific situation. All right, the next method is to actually use Facebook's built-in dynamic creative tool. So this is a tool that is inside of Facebook Ads Manager, and you have to enable it at the ad set level. It's not at the campaign level or the ad level, it's at the ad set level. So as long as you turn it on, once you go to the ad level, you're going to have the ability to include up to 10 different types of creatives, up to 5 different types of primary text, and up to 5 different types of headlines. So here in this example, using dynamic creative for this account, we have 2 different types of creative right here. We have 3 different types of ad copy, and then we have the 5 headlines. And so what Facebook does on their end is that they take all of these assets and they will just dynamically shift in the ad for each individual user. So maybe, the first person who sees the ad is going to see, graphic 1, copy 1, headline 1. And the next person is going to see copy 1, graphic 1, headline 2. And the next person is going to see copy 2 and graphic 2, but headline 5, right? It's just going to mix and match things all the way. So then once you start getting some data, you go back to your Facebook Ads Manager and you start looking at the breakdown for the impressions. And so to do that, to see what assets are performing well, so you go to the breakdown column and then you scroll all the way down to by dynamic creative element, and you get to choose the different types of assets on there, right? Image, text, headline, description, so on and so forth. So I can start with the images right here. This only went just live today, so there's not gonna be a whole lot of data to look at right here, but I can tell just from early data, this one right here has the higher link CTR, but this one here has the higher CTR also. That could be pretty even right now looking at the images, but I can also look at it by the text, see if there's one that is a standout performer. So far, text number 1 definitely seems to be the standout performer. It has higher click-through rates than the other variations, and so on and so forth. So this is how you're going to go about using dynamic creative to do some testing. So the benefit of this setup is that it's pretty straightforward, right? Like I said, you just hit that button at the ad set level, enable dynamic creative, and then you give it all your assets, and then you launch it, and then you're good to go. There are some downsides though. One downside is that it's not going to give even impressions to all of your assets. So if you have 10 different images or videos, it's not going to evenly split all the impressions on there. So it's not a true test, so to speak. Same thing with the copy. If you have 5 copies in there, you know, it's gonna maybe favor, you know, 2 or 3, but then the other 2 that you have in there, you know, they're not gonna get a whole lot of play. So it won't be the best way to test everything together. The other downside of this is that it doesn't give you the winning combination, right? So you can look at, okay, what's the best creative, what's the best copy, all this kind of stuff. Here, obviously, we're focusing on creative, but it doesn't tell you the winning combination, right? Because even though image 1 might be the best and copy 3 might be the best and headline 5 might be the best, that doesn't mean that image 1 with copy 3 and image 5 together, that is the best formula right there. So those are the pros and cons of dynamic creative. All right, so the third way and final way I'm going to cover today to do some creative testing is to do a manual setup. Now, personally, this is my favorite setup. I think it is the cleanest and best way to test your creative. So if we set up that we have here inside of my ad account, I've got 4 different ad sets right here, but they're all targeting the same exact audience. There's no difference whatsoever here from one targeting to the next, which obviously typically isn't something you do because otherwise for the long term, you are going to be competing against yourself. But here, we're just doing a test. This is not gonna run forever and ever, so it's fine targeting the same exact audience across all your ad sets. And then the one difference between all of these is that inside there is one ad, and then each ad has a unique creative. So if I click over here and I look at all of the ads across all the ad sets, right? Like I said earlier, you want the same copy to be in each and every single one. Copy 1, copy 1, copy 1, copy 1. But what changes here are the graphics. This is graphic 1, graphic 2, graphic 3, graphic 4. So if I go back and click in an individual ad set, you'll see one ad in here. Now I'll click on this one ad in here, and then I'll click on this one ad in here. So the benefit of doing it this way is that it's going to evenly distribute my impressions because each one of these ad sets has its own budget. I'm giving them $20 a day. That means they're all gonna get roughly the same amount of impressions each and every single day. There's gonna be a little bit of variance depending on what their CPMs are, but for the most part, they're going to get the same volume of impressions. So it's actually a true test at this point. And it's also going to be the cleanest way of looking at my data because here I'm measuring cost per lead. I have one ad per ad set, so I can measure like, okay, this ad is getting the cheapest cost per lead. They all have the same exact copy. Therefore, this is truly the best creative, and I know how to move on from there. Now, the downside of doing it this way is that it is the most expensive way of doing this, right? So for the first method, where you're just putting a bunch of different ads inside the same ad set, you know, you can be spending as little as $10 a day and be doing that. Also for same thing with dynamic creative, you're just putting a bunch of different ad creatives inside of the same dynamic ad element, and you can be spending very little money. Here though, since we have individual ad sets, they're all gonna have their own individual budgets, which means it's gonna raise the cost. So even if you're spending $10 a day on a normal basis, if you're gonna do this and you're testing 4 different types of creatives, that means you're gonna be going from $10 a day all the way out to $40 a day. So it is an increase, but it's also only a short term typically, unless your results are spectacular. You can obviously keep on spending at $40 a day or whatever actually feels most comfortable to you. So that is the one downside. Now for all of these methods, regardless of what you choose, you want to make sure that whenever you are about to proclaim a winner or a loser in any of your creatives, make sure that that creative has at least 1,000 impressions. If you're turning something off, you know, before 1,000 impressions, you know, that's just not not enough data to truly call it a winner or a loser. You want to make sure that you get to at least 1,000 impressions and also at least 2 separate days of data. You don't want to do results from just the same day. So even if in the same day you get 1,000 impressions, you don't want to base your learnings just off of that, because behavior in the platform on a Monday is different to a Tuesday, which is different to a Wednesday, and so on and so forth. So that's why it's important to also have it run throughout multiple days so it can see the changes in behavior, the ebbs and flows, and you're going to see which is the creative that's truly going to work best for you over the long run each and every single day of the year. Now, one thing you might be saying to yourself, hey, I really want to do this creative testing, but this seems really complicated because I am not a designer myself. I have to hire a designer, and that sounds really expensive. But that's that's not going to stop you or anyone. There are so many useful tools out there for creating creatives very quickly and easily. So the first I'm going to mention, you're probably already aware of this, but it is always worth bringing up, is Canva. Canva is just an absolutely fantastic platform, and each and every single year it gets better. So you probably already know that there are templates that you can choose from, or you can now start using their new AI-powered Magic Studio. You can just begin your search by saying, hey, this is the type of the creative that I'm looking for. It'll give you a couple of options. You select the option you want, you swap it out with your colors, and then you put in your image, and then boom, literally within just 2-3 minutes, you have a beautiful creative that you can go ahead and test, and you just repeat that process for however many creatives you want to be testing in the first place. The other tool that I have been using lately, which is super useful, is Add Creative AI. So this is another AI-powered platform, and so what you do with this one is that you give it some information. You're going to upload it, your logo, you're going to give it your brand colors, you're going to give a description of your business, and then you upload the image that you want to use, the primary image that you want to use in your creatives, and then you're going to give it a little bit of information about what it is that you're promoting, right? Whether it's a product or a service. In this case, I'm promoting a free 25-minute training, so that's what I tell it. And then once it has all that information, right, your business name, your brand colors, your picture, your logo, what it is that you're promoting, you just submit all that, and then it's going to create tons and tons of different ad variations for you. You can just keep on scrolling down, choose the ones that look most appealing to you, hit that download button, and then boom. So this method here, literally within 1 minute, you can have up to 100 different variations, and this gives you plenty of different types of creatives to test along the way. The final way to get some quick and easy creatives is to use DALL-E 3 within ChatGPT. I actually created an entire video for this, which you can go ahead and check out right here. It's a really impressive tool, and a lot of those creatives have been getting some great results for my clients. All right, so that is the breakdown of ad creative testing and the different ways you can do it and the pros and cons of each. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about any of the methods that I went over today, just let me know in the comments below and I'll be happy to get back to you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.